The most important thing in all of Disney's portfolio of businesses is Walt Disney World Resort. In fact, it's not even close. It drives by far the most income, the most revenue, the most profit that the entire company ever sees. Today, we'll tell you why the parks are indeed in deep, deep trouble, and the financial analysts, the business insiders are saying it out loud now. Bob Iger's kingdom is crumbling down. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We here on the Pro Channel explain entertainment, and we keep you ahead of the culture curve as we get ready to dive into today's topic about the Disney parks, specifically Disney World, falling apart and now losing their advantage, their market share, and it could cause the Disney company to tear apart. Well, to some degree. Click the like button, and here we go. Take a look. It's out of CNBC, and that means it has hit the mainstream. Paulina Likos has the article here. Slowdown in tourists coming to the U.S. puts Disney's theme park magic at risk. Now, that is going to be the excuse they're going to use for now. But here's what I'm here to tell you. If the Disney parks, and we're basically talking about Walt Disney World when we talk about this, if Walt Disney World struggles to pull in tourists domestically too, then what you're looking at is a truly terrifying next at least 2 years for Disney, and they have no answer. Let's read the article, and I want you to pay close attention. Oh no, it's behind the paywall, and it wasn't before. Jonah, see if you can grab CNBC, see if you can pull this up in a minute.
Yep.
It says, I'll read the first paragraph. It says, a slump in air travel to the U.S. is emerging in the wake of President Donald Trump's tariffs, and it could hit Walt Disney's important theme park business where it hurts. Now, how badly is international tourism dropping going to hurt Disney? Bad enough that they're dropping the discounts or increasing the discounts so that in 2026, if you're coming from the UK, Disney is ready to drop it down to 60 to 70%. 60 to 70% off when you include all the discounts. And guess what? Out of the New York Post by Pillar Arias via Fox Business, Disney next year in 2026 also preparing to make it so that your kids can eat free. That's domestic too. There are so many ways that Disney is discounting right now, and it's because apparently there's great fear that a slowdown is going to happen. What I'd like to talk about, guys, is there's a trifecta of damage happening right now. You've got Universal Studios that's putting the pressure on Disney. You've got the tariffs, which are putting damage on Disney. They can't respond to Universal Studios. And then the dislike of the Europeans for Trump is damaging Disney, allegedly. You put all this together, and the question becomes, who is going to fund all of the woke stuff that Disney has been doing? Because it was the theme parks that did that. Now the theme parks are in danger of not having the revenue to be able to subsidize the suck that has been Disney. This could finally be the last straw, because what have we paid attention to? We've said over and over, Disney has three things, and the last leg of this table, when it comes down, really the House of Mouse comes down. Streaming's in trouble. They're trying to obfuscate it as best they can, but it's in trouble. We've covered that. The box office is visibly in trouble. Nobody can ignore it anymore. We've watched as Thunderdolts is getting ready to come out to lackluster response according to projections. We just saw Snow White. We watched Captain America: Brave New World. Even Lilo and Stitch, which I am very excited about, and I think it's going to be a great movie. It's going up against Mission Impossible, which means it's going to split the pot. Whatever it makes, it could have made more if these companies had done the scheduling better. Okay, so there's your two strikes, right? What's the third strike? What's the biggest strike? The parks, because ultimately Disney is a park company. People don't understand. Disney, for all that it owns, for all of the Star Wars, for all of the Marvel, for all of the stuff that Disney does, it pales in comparison, basically, to Walt Disney World, which is amazing. It's incredible that Walt Disney World generates the kind of revenue it does, that it can dwarf these other things, but it does. And if the tourism internationally drops off, and if it does domestically, this company's in trouble. Culture, I start with you. You've watched Bob Iger say they were ready for this. They knew this was coming, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's the case at all. And I think that this company now, this is the nightmare scenario unfolding before our eyes.
Well, I look, I think anybody saw this coming. I think even Iger knew that this was going to have some effect. You can throw all the excuses you want to at it, and they're going to dig deep and ask their friends to report the bologna sausage behind this all. But there's going to be a global difficulty financially for some time. This has been coming for the last 6 years, and the IMF and many other bodies have been talking about the fact that there's just been an economic slowdown, and there just is. The travel is going to be affected by that for sure, but it's not because of the policies of this administration or anybody else. And if it is, it's going to be short lived. So if they are wrong about all of that garbage they're trying to sell everybody, they're going to be proven wrong. And Epic's going to do just fine. I think Epic will do just fine, as will Universal. And again, I still think that I'm not off base by saying there's going to be a 30% market share shift strictly because of this new theme park. Because people who would have said, and somebody in the chat has already said, they would be attending. That was an interesting background. Would be that will be attending this park are going to be going there for more days than they would have originally planned. You used to go to Universal for 2 days. Now you're going to be there for at least 3 days. And once you get to about the midway through your vacation, you're not gonna move over to the other park. There's other things to see, or things that you missed, or things you want to do again. Disney used to be the heart and soul of that. They aren't anymore. In fact, that's one of the things we were talking about recently. So will tariffs put a damper on it? No. I mean, not any more than it is anywhere across the entire industry. But when it comes to Disney, Disney is a victim of its own choices and its own decision making process, and I think it'll be borne out real soon.
Let me toss you a curveball, Culture. Okay. And I know you can handle it. The Los Angeles Times has this article. Disney's parks are its economic engine. Tariffs could put a damper on it. Folks, apologies to not be able to show the CNBC article. Apparently, since the time we had that prepared to go in the programming, they've put it behind a paywall, and there's no way around it. Culture, and by the way, the policy here is we don't put things on a paywall up on the screen and try to.
I happen to have this article up and outside of the paywall, so if you want it,
okay.
I got it.
Well, we'll get it up in just a second. Thank you so much, Culture. Jonas. Culture, coming back to you though with the curveball. The tariffs. Here's what's interesting about those. The tariffs, if they go on and on with China, okay, because I think the rest of the tariffs around the world, that's already a relatively settled matter. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But China, not so. If the tariffs with China continue, what it does is it makes it difficult for the next year or two for Disney to respond to Epic Universe in the way that they could if they weren't looking at, massive increases in manufacturing costs, especially on technology stuff. Is that a legit concern?
I think that is a legit concern because Disney's become so reliant on China rather than doing their own stuff, which they used to be, experts at. There are a lot of things Disney used to be experts at that they've abandoned, but I think that's the one that's going to punch them in the nose the hardest. And you know what? Maybe deservedly so, because if they bring everything back in-house, I think they'll be far better off. And had they not sold away or frittered away the ownership of the monorail to Bombardier, and the Wedway People Mover to another company, I believe they would have been able to, at least add on in those regards to something that they needed desperately before, which is transportation. But regardless, set all that aside, they aren't going to be able to have the vehicles of response because they do source too much from China, and it's okay. It's a lesson learned for other corporations because they will not follow in Disney's footsteps. Don't be so reliant on your supply chain from a country that doesn't like you.
No. Yeah, exactly. Kevin, when it comes to this, I'm very hesitant to say what I'm going to say. So I'm going to be very careful in the way that I posit what I'm going to put forth. We're very careful about saying that we're not giving any kind of financial or stock advice. I'm going to reiterate that. Don't do what we say. We're less credible than Jim Cramer. Okay, maybe not. Kevin, I kid, but not on the declaration. Don't take financial advice from us. Kevin, it seems to me that if the parks collapse, the stock might correlate with the parks. If you get my drift, I'm being very careful in how I say this. And it looks to me like the parks are at the edge, they're on the verge, and that these three things have put them over the edge. What say you?
I agree. I think, frankly, I think the stock's been a little overvalued for a while anyway. The and we know that the parks are the beating heart of this company, which is why it's just so strange to me that they just went about things the way they did, and Iger still reigns triumphant. The they really needed to put a lot more care and thought into the long term, and it just seemed like it was more about the immediate spending, farm it out, cut the costs, reduce the staff, and now it's biting them, and their recovery time is going to be tremendous. And again, like you guys already said, the impact of the tariffs is going to be short term. Right, it just is. It's majority of it's settled. The China issue will eventually work itself. It's going to be a matter of how long President Pooh Bear wants to drag this out in order to try to save face. But there's a lot of other things that at play here. And the thing I found most curious is that we're talking about the attendance being an issue, but if the attendance being an issue because the Europeans don't want to come over, that means that Disney's going to have another major issue, and that's going to be with staffing. That means they're not going to get J1 visas. It means you're not going to have anybody to work and assist the people in the parks who are coming there anyway. So let's say they're right. Disney now has a fourth major problem that they're not going to have an answer for.
Right. And then the clock is ticking on the British parks as well. So here's the article. It's not paywalled at the moment that I open this up, so we're just going to go with it. The tariffs, Disney's parks are its economic engine. Tariffs could put a damper on it. My favorite statistic down here is last year, the division brought in almost 60% of the company's operating income. That is very true. And they say,
let's play with that for a minute, Jonas. If 60% of all the Disney company comes from the parks in terms of operating income, and even just a 20% decline happens due to these three things that we're talking about, it's catastrophic.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why they should not have ignored the parks for long. They took them for granted. That was and Bob Chapek, I think, gets blamed for a lot of things that are not his fault, especially things that were specifically under Bob Iger. But a lot of the nickel and diming and the value engineering that goes into the parks, that's Bob Chapek. That is, parking fees at the hotels. And go ahead.
I was going to push back on you a little bit and say that Bob Chapek, being the head of Disney Parks before he took over as CEO, I still put a lot of it on him. I think a lot of those decisions were made under his reign.
It sounds like we agree as far as that's concerned. So the fact that they have paid Fast Pass or Genie Plus and now Lightning Lane Multipass and that mess, all of those were things that were done under Bob Chapek. So they nickel and dimed people while they were trying to build Disney Plus, because they assumed, well, Netflix did it, we're going to be able to do it too because we have better stuff. Well, then they also fired the guy who was in charge of making that better stuff. This is a company that always assumes that everything they're going to do is successful because they read their own press. Apparently, they lie to manipulate the press. Allegedly,
they are the press. They literally are the press.
True. I also think that the fight with Florida and DeSantis, the Reedy Creek thing, over the parent rights and education bill, hurt this company way more than they ever projected that they could. They literally thought that they would win that fight when the majority of all Floridians across political boundaries all wanted that parental rights and education bill. That was a very unanimous thing among all Floridians, regardless of what side of the aisle you fell on. And Disney tried to fight that whole thing, and they lost so big. It was such an embarrassment. And I think that's affected the company. All of this, by the way, all of these negative things that Disney had done to themselves has all happened during the course of the building of Epic Universe and during the rise of Universal.
Ron, let's play with it. Hold on now. Let's play with that because you've hit on something really important. You said, and I agree with you, that the loss in Florida hurt them badly. And people ask me, why do you guys not talk about that more? If it's hurting them so bad, why do you not talk about it? It's like, well, because nobody else is going to talk about it. And so we don't have articles to read, nothing. If there was any justice in this world for this House of Mouse, people would be writing articles every day about how much this is costing them. They don't. It's estimated by Andrew of Legal Mindset to be $1 trillion over a century. I mean, it's enormous. It's unfathomable. Ron, they lost in the legal battle against Florida. They lost their self-governing status, and immediately Universal Studios looks to be taking the lead for the first time in 50, 60 years. Ron, do those things have a connection?
Well, it's also my understanding that Universal also got their own version of a district as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they get something to?
I don't know if it's been completed yet. I know that was in process.
Okay, well, my point being that this whole thing, it's a very strange thing to see as somebody who's been a Disney fan my entire life, and as somebody who's been a Floridian for almost 20 years now. It is a very, very strange thing to see the whole way this play. I've never seen a company hurt themselves so much as Disney has under the leadership of Bob Iger and the parks, for a time under Bob Chapek, but also Bob Iger was signing off on all of that stuff. And then Josh D'Amaro, who everyone thought would come in and save this company and all. It's very, and I met Josh D'Amaro, nice guy, but it's just not going well for him under his leadership.
Seems to me that Josh D'Amaro doesn't have much of a spine. I hate to say that. Probably is a nice guy. We've heard the same. We've had sources who've reached out and said, hey, guys, be kind to him. He's a kind person. He's in a hard spot. But, at the end of the day, somebody has to take the blame. And Bob Iger takes the blame. But then Josh D'Amaro's the next guy. And this is the worst we have ever seen the Disney parks in terms of, they're about to be beat for the first time in 50 to 60 years. This is the company that invented theme parks. And they've been number one at it forever, since they invented the darn things. And
I don't care how nice of a guy you are. If you made that Muppet Vision and that Rivers of America decision, you don't get my benefit of the doubt.
Well, yeah, everything we've heard, and Pro would agree with this, I think, is that Bob Iger knows nothing about the theme parks, and he leaves it to the theme park division to make those decisions. The buck has to stop somewhere, and it's Josh D'Amaro.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, folks. I think they're going to say that this is Trump's fault. I really do believe that. I think that's going to be the excuse. But they are losing time to adjust. I think this next earnings call could be bad. No financial advice being given. I think it could be bad. And then I don't see the sunshine at the end of this storm cloud that Disney's facing. We'll pay attention to it, folks. But right now, the last bastion for Disney. This is the Alamo. Call the Magic Kingdom the Alamo. Bob Iger is holed up in Cinderella's castle, hoping that he can survive this storm. But I'm afraid that Universal, along with the economic situations that be, are going to rain on his parade. And put another one in the can, folks. A video of excellence has been birthed into existence, and you were there to witness it. Thank you for participating. We hope you had a good time. Folks, it's a great time anytime we get to share time with you, and we mean it. The only thing additional we ask, on the way out the door, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those pesky algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, if you would be so kind, perhaps share this out on your favorite social media platforms. Folks, we've got all kinds of content coming your way. If you are interested in going even beyond all of that, well, there's a Pro Store, and you can always find those items directly below the video you're watching. The Pro Store. It's a cool place to check out for items that, well, definitely Disney and the rest are not going to sell you, but we're happy to do so. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Hey, Floral, guess what?
You put a fork in Pro's microwave again.
No, that was yesterday.
I don't know that what.
Oh, I've decided to give up on torturing Jonas.
What? Why? In the same way the cat sleeps like 20 hours a day, that was like your purpose.
I know, but I've decided there's bigger fish to fry.
Okay.
Like Lorne. I mean, think about it. Everybody loves him. He's a fan favorite, and frankly, he has almost no weaknesses I can find. Except that he's really smart.
So, you want to annoy the one panelist without a single flaw. Because he's smart.
Yeah, like that winged statue at that fancy Paris museum thingy. I want to break the one thing that everyone loves most.
So, kind of like the opposite of Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I get to see her all the time at family reunions anyway.
You get to see Rachel Zegler?
Yeah. I mean, she's a total troll. Lives under a bridge, harasses billy goats, you know, the whole 9 yards.
It all makes sense now.
Speaking of which, maybe she'll get me... okay, call her on my... I'm gonna call her and see if she'll be in the next Indiana Jones. She should be the next Indiana Jones. That'll totally destroy Lord. He loves Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's cruel.
Hey, Rach. I've got a cool idea for you that involves a whip and snakes.
I love that description. It's perfect.
I know, right? Weird, as we always say.